Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our returning listeners, and welcome if this is your first time listening. We're so happy to have you all with us today.
Thank you for joining us for the 17th episode of the Lion Pridecast, a podcast created by the Lansing Unified School District 469, located in Lansing, Kansas.
The purpose of this podcast is to inform our Lansing stakeholders, being our community members, students, and staff, about all things education. We are your hosts. I am Miles Azzeh, Director of Teaching and Learning in Lansing USD469.
And I am Sharon Burns, the Director of Communications and Marketing. So today I feel a lot of pressure because our guest is going to be our new boss starting in July. So we really can't mess this up.
Well, actually, Marty, I don't know if this is getting us on a bad foot, but I don't feel any more pressure than I ever did. I feel exactly the same. But just know that I'm still going to respect you and I'm scared of you and all that stuff. But but you are really nervous?
Yeah, I'm always nervous.
You are.
Particularly so now.
Okay,
so
fair
thank
enough.
you for being on.
Oh, you're welcome.
So we'll start with the first question, which is really easy, which is just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Sure. I think first thing I need to say is it's a great day to be a Lion.
Yeah.
But also with that, Marty Kobza, and I am currently the superintendent in Superior, Nebraska, and looking forward to being the superintendent here in Lansing. I've met some wonderful people today and through my interview process, and really looking forward to that. This is my 21st year as a superintendent. I'm not recovered yet. I still enjoy doing it every day and love what I do and trying to make a difference for kids. I've been a superintendent in Eudora, Kansas, and in Wyoming in a couple districts, and then again in Superior, and now making my way back to Kansas, so I'm looking forward to that. I have 5 children, 2 grandchildren. I've been married 30 years this year. To my wife, Nikki, who's from Kansas City, Kansas. And we, again, are just looking forward to being back in the area, and I'm looking forward to becoming part of this great district.
Hey.
And we're looking forward to having you.
Yeah, we really are.
So we had a great day with you on the tour during the superintendent interview, and it was awesome, all the places we got to go. Seeing you interact with staff and students, by the way, was one of my biggest takeaways. But what was your takeaway at the end of that day, whether it be in the buildings or back here?
Just great people. I mean, the people I came across, from the staff to the people at the community forum, who just showed their true caring, I guess, and devotion toward Lansing and their children was awesome. But the staff, I saw professionalism throughout. I saw people who care about kids, want the best for kids, and truly love them. And so that's a huge part of it for me. I saw people who are passionate about their schools and about their district and their kids. And that's the thing that stuck with me all the way through. And I had a chance this morning to meet with some of the directors that I didn't get a chance to meet with on the tours. And wow, same thing. There are people who are deeply passionate about what they do and how they're serving kids in the community. So that theme was just throughout that there's a belief in this place, there's a belief in what's happening, and I'm excited again to be part of that.
Yeah, we are too.
Very.
This next question, you talked about, our family here in Lansing, and the school system is very tight and supportive, but we do have right now a little bit of tension, I would say, between board members, community members, and staff. Just the 3 groups kind of need to work together. So we're looking for somebody to unify that. How are you planning to build a bridge there between?
Hold on a second, Marty, have you signed your contract yet?
He knows.
Don't tell them yet. Wait till July. We're fine. We all love each other. No, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the magic question, right? But what I would tell you is that it's not unique to Lansing. We're seeing this for everything that happens on a political basis, and it's happening now on a governmental basis across our country. And as we look at civil discord, we look at trust, we look at those agencies that govern us and all those things, is how do we bring that together to where people can have conversations again, and meaningful conversations. So I think the number one thing always is transparency. The number one thing is why are we doing what we're doing, and what do we believe? And also starting with the idea that everyone has the best intentions in mind, that they truly do care, that they truly want the best for everyone. Now, we may not agree on how to get there, but if we can communicate why we are the way we are, why we stand for what we stand for, that makes all the difference in the world. And so, helping people to communicate those issues, me leading in that communication. I think in addition to that, finding ways to bridge the gaps that may exist, and trust, that we do truly trust one another on that front. And sometimes we say or do things because that's as good as we know at that time. We may not have all the information. We may not have some of the other pieces that we need to make the puzzle more clear for others. And I don't want to talk around the issue, but it just really comes down to that. We've got to trust one another again.
Right.
And we've got to trust one another from the standpoint of, I truly want what's best for the same kids that you want the best for. We may think about it differently. Let's talk about our differences, and let's talk about how we can come to common ground.
Right.
And that's really what we're going to do. And we're going to make it about kids again, right? We're going to make it about what is best for the students in Lansing. In USD469, what is absolutely what is best for them. And if we can focus our conversations on that, some of our other conversations may cease.
I like that. One of the things we've been tossing around, I think we're going to make happen, is some Board of Education and community forums. So we're talking about having it at 10 and 2. We just started the process on that with getting them on board. So that's going to be something to open up that communication, because I think when people do sit down and talk, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, that strategic plan was so nice because we were just in a room and we could just talk it out, and you do see that we're all in this for the same reason.
Yep.
So.
And lots of kudos to both of you on that strategic plan. What a wonderful document. And I know that it was a collective effort. There were many, many people involved, but I know that you guys were leading the charge in that. Great work.
Yeah, thank
really
you.
great work.
Thanks, Marty. Appreciate it. And thanks to Bart for helping us out
Yes,
so much
Bart
in
Schwartz.
Greenbush.
Yes,
Yeah, Bart
shout out
Schwartz
to
in
Bart.
Greenbush. Which actually kind of goes into this next question. People like Bart, other people I've met that have worked with you before, have said really, really great things about you, Marty. Can you talk to us about ways that you support teachers and staff, and why maybe people feel that way after working
Sure.
with you?
First, you might want to talk to more people than just the ones you talk to.
Not Ben and Marty. Ben and Bart, those two aren't enough. Got it. Noted. Sorry, Ben and Marty.
No. But as far as supporting teachers, that's why the position of superintendent exists, right? When it comes right down to it, what's our business? What are we about? We are about educating students. That education happens in the classroom, that education happens on the field, on the stage, in the band room, in the music room, all those kinds of things. And with that, each of those individual teachers, coaches, sponsors, whoever, we have unique needs. So it's understanding and listening to what those unique needs are, and then trying everything I can to support them, to help them do their job better. And to do their job that is in best interest to kids. And so what that means is that if I need this in my classroom and I currently don't have it, and it's essential to the kids' learning, how do I help make that happen for that teacher? If it's that I am just at a point in my career where I need a breath of fresh air, I need something, how do we help you find something to help you re-energize or get you some of the other supports that you may need? Through COVID, mental health has become a huge issue, not only for students, but for staff, for everybody who's been involved with the issues. How do we provide some of those supports if possible? And so, and then I think the other part is becoming someone they can trust. And I think I said this throughout my interview process is to be authentic. That if I say I'm going to do something, to do it, that there is stability, that they feel that if they're coming, they're not going to get a different answer tomorrow than they did today, that it's going to be the same, and they know kind of what they can expect and how they can operate. And I think that, for having been a teacher, having been a principal and those things, that is so important, that you know what the playing field is like, as well, and that somebody has your back and somebody's going to be there to support you. And sometimes if you make a mistake, that you get called out on that mistake, but at the same time, that you're going to have the support to recover from that and move forward from that and be okay. So that's really what it is. It's just to be my authentic self and to help them do their job the best way they can by being that support for them.
Yeah.
You know, Marty, I couldn't agree more. As you know, I'm only a few years removed from being in the classroom full time, and you know, my principal having an open door, trusting policy, or listening to me about things or helping me with things was way more important than any resource they may have purchased for me or anything like that. So I agree with you. It's that trust and that ability to feel like you're in their corner. That support. I love that trust and support. Well said.
Yeah. So next question is about rumors. They're unfortunately a part of life, and they can seem a lot bigger in a small town like Lansing. So how do you plan to address that as a superintendent, and how do you plan on giving guidance to our admin who see it in their buildings?
Sure.
You probably didn't have any rumors where you're coming from, right? They don't have
No,
rumors.
small town, there's never rumors. And so with that, you know, we've done a few different strategies, and you know, Sharon, I think that you have some great ideas around that as well, as we talk about a rumor watch, or you know, just spending a little bit of time saying, hey, this is out there, and this is true or this isn't true, and trying to be, again, as transparent as possible. And that's really the only way to do it. We've put it on a website before in a district I've been part of. The cool thing about the technology and kind of what you guys have developed here with not only the podcasts, but the superintendents, you'll have to help me, the little show you do.
Lion Lowdown.
Yeah, Lion Lowdown. Some of those, whether we have some other ideas about a Marty Minute or whatever it may be, just that idea that we are putting it out there and talking about it, and going from there and just not letting it fester.
Right, facing it head on. I like it. It's kind
Big fan
of
of
my
that.
philosophy too with it.
So I wanted you to finish that sentence. You seemed like you were mid-sentence there.
I said it's my philosophy too.
Oh, and
That's it.
that was
Head on.
there was a period there at the end?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It sure
You
seemed
know,
like
you
there was
don't have to
something.
say that we agree on philosophy because I'm new superintendent.
Right.
You know you're allowed,
You can
yeah.
disagree.
I'll disagree.
Yeah, actually, I'm not gonna lie to you. Sharon is like the epitome of meet head on and disagree. Yes. So we have a lot that we have to do here in Lansing. I mean, I think that's one of those situations where we do things great here, but we have to keep our foot in the gas. I think you'd admit. So, what is one of the first things you would like to tackle when you're in charge in the next year? And I know we hear a lot of times, you know, this as a leader, you're not supposed to do too much in your first year, but I think you can definitely still make incremental changes. What's something you want to tackle next year?
Sure. I think there's a few things that initially we're going to look at. You know, one of the things was last month at the board meeting, they looked at using DCS to come in and do a facility study, an engineering study on what the needs of the district are from a purely facility standpoint. So that's kind of its own category. I think another category that we can make some improvements around is safety, and just some of the physical plant safety type things that are in the district, and addressing some of those needs that as I kind of walk around, I'm going, yeah, this would be good to do. And, you know, from an academic standpoint, some of the conversations we've had, Miles, I know that the district's headed in a really good direction with the guaranteed and viable curriculum, with common assessments, with professional learning communities, and some of those things that you have going in the district already. And so just continuing to build those, continuing to make those even better. And so those things are important. And then the other piece is getting myself out there from the standpoint of meeting staff. You know, I've been known to be in the line greeting students and parents as they drop off in the morning, or kids are getting off of buses and doing that. I had a chance to talk to a few students at the high school today, and that was fun as well. And so just becoming part of the school system, becoming part of the community is a priority as well. But I think we need to look at some of those things. We need to tackle some budget issues as well. And then, as we talked about before, building relationships with people and between parts of the system again.
Nicely said. I love I like how you hit on so many different things. Like you went from facilities to people to education, so I love it.
So hopefully I wasn't being random there, but there
No.
there are
No.
definitely hopefully there are definitely different categories that we look at. So there's more than just one. And we talk a little bit about the urgency of now, meaning that when we look at it from our student standpoint, yes, there is the administrative philosophy that we come in and we do nothing for a year and we look at that. But if we have things like the ones I mentioned, and we're not going to come in and say, oh, we need to shake everything up, we need to do things differently in this, because I do need to learn about the system. But there are some of those things that are just sitting there
Ready
that
to
are
be.
like, okay, we need to move forward.
Yeah, especially. Yeah.
And so, whether it's safety, whatever it is, but we need to move forward with that. We can't just wait for that.
Yeah, I agree. Especially if it's something, I was going to say, and this is going to be great with your experience at multiple districts and multiple states, if it's just simply, we've been doing it one way for so long, that so we can change something only because it maybe might not be working for us, but it's just the way we've always done it. But now having somebody come in, a new set of fresh eyes. So I think that's going to be helpful.
And a lot of that is just asking questions on why, why are we doing it this way currently, and there may be a really good reason, and there is no reason to do anything different.
Yeah, for sure.
We just want to make sure, okay, I need to support you and continue to do that because great stuff is going on. So it's just a lot of questions is what I'll be doing, asking.
Love it.
Okay, switching gears to recruitment and retention. So we met you
Yeah.
first time, I don't know, when was that? Was that back in?
I want to say it was either I want to say
February. It was
February. I
early
want to say it was definitely
February.
early February.
So we met you at UNL, University of Lincoln, Nebraska. And you obviously, after some conversations, you obviously understand the importance of recruiting. I love that you go to the recruitment fairs yourself. So can you talk about some ways that you plan to recruit great teachers?
Absolutely. I think that there's multiple fronts to recruiting and retention. I mean, number one, retain the great ones you have.
Right.
Retain the people you have. Find ways to do that, to make them feel connected to your system, to make them feel important, to be competitive. From a financial standpoint is important as well, and make them feel like they're supported and they're where they want to be. And so that retention is your best recruitment, right? If you can keep those great people that you have. But there are opportunities to go out and find people to become part of your team and become part of your system. So from that standpoint, I always talk about characteristics that we look for people with certain characteristics to be part of our team in our district. We know what fits, we know what we want, and there are those common characteristics everybody talks about being somebody who's loyal, committed, hardworking, willing to learn. Because what we know sometimes is when we bring somebody new into the system, we are going to be teaching them our ways. And it may not be what they learned in college, but are they a learner? And are they willing to do those kinds of things in order to adapt to what Lansing does and what Lansing does well and the trainings that would be provided to them? So that's important. But getting out, I was the primary recruiter for my district, and so we went to South Dakota, we went to Kansas, we went to Nebraska, we went all over Nebraska. we went to, I think I said Kansas already. So all those kinds of things, and just looking at what is that person with those characteristics, where do we typically find them, where do they come from, how do we bring them here, how do we make them part of what we're doing as quickly as possible for kids. And so it's extremely, extremely important that we do that. And again, you guys have done a great job for Lansing, so because as we were just talking about it beforehand, as far as what positions we have open, we're in great shape compared to many others right now. So
Right.
kudos to you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. We also are told at almost all of our career fairs, I'm going to go ahead and give us a little shout.
That's okay.
What do they tell us? They told us this weekend
We're-
at Columbia.
yeah, we're the most fun.
We're the most fun group there.
I noticed that
Kids
in
like to come.
Nebraska.
Did you notice it?
Yeah.
Okay, because there was a lot of competition in Nebraska. It was packed in
Yeah.
there.
It was.
But we were
most
still the
fun.
best. Yeah, it was still the most.
I do have a question though.
Okay.
Yes.
what happens if I'm a Husker fan? I was born and raised in Nebraska, and so, they brainwash us there. Is it allowed in this part of the country?
I will tell you, I think the K-State people are not fans of Nebraska. I'm not originally from here, and I'm not a huge college. I'm a pro sports guy.
Nebraska, so it to me.
Yeah.
Lisa, two of my really good friends are
Okay.
from there,
I
so
think you might be okay.
I think you'd be all right.
I think it'd have been worse if you. Well, I don't know. I was gonna say, I don't know. I'm trying to think like who KU or K-State, because that's the majority of people around here. You also have a saving grace though, because Benedictine, correct?
Benedictine College.
So you could just, anytime anybody gets upset about the Husker stuff, you can be like, hey, you played ball over there, right?
Yeah.
They'll be like, okay, we'll let them go.
Yeah.
He has some sports roots around here.
Long time ago.
What position did you play? What position were you? Or did you play multiple positions?
No, I was a linebacker.
Linebacker.
Yeah,
Okay.
Right back. So.
Yeah, you look like a linebacker.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I don't do everything I need to do correctly next
Sometimes
year.
sometimes I have a linebacker's approach, and I need to make it a little more subtle. So.
Hey, can't wait till you start, Marty. It's gonna be awesome. All right. So actually, what a perfect time to ask this question.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Multiple times when you were here with administrators and with staff and board members, a term came up. Accountability. So outside of tackling someone, what are some ways you plan on holding people accountable to do right by kids? I'm nervous about how much you're laughing. I'm not going to lie. I was expecting a soft chuckle, and instead it's like, oh, you must be talking to people in Superior.
No. No, I think, from an accountability standpoint, again, it's a culture you build with an organization. And we talk about collective commitments. And when we talk about collective commitments, it is those things that we believe. And it's not something that comes from the superintendent's office or the Board of Education or anything else. But as an organization, what do we really believe about how things should be done? And we commit to that, and then we hold each other accountable to it. Ultimately, if we follow chain of command and all that stuff, ultimately I become responsible for that. But if we're doing things right, we're holding each other accountable in that building, in the district office, among our board, whatever it is. And so if we say that when kids are in our building, we will treat kids with respect, and in return expect them to treat adults with respect. And if we are not treating kids with respect, in order to get that back, that we're holding the people accountable for that, each other. Just subtle reminders, whatever it would be, and then making sure that that's followed through with. So all those kinds of things are part of just building a culture where that occurs and happens. And we try to help people along the way. So if we're having difficulty with adhering to a commitment we made, or this is part of an expectation within the district, again, we assume that maybe they just don't understand what that is, or it hasn't been presented to them. We make sure that they're up to speed and they know that that's what the expectation is. And then if someone, and rarely does this happen, but sometimes someone would say or not do or follow through with what they're supposed to, and so then we do whatever's necessary to make sure that everyone is held to that same standard and those same rules.
Is that where the tackling comes in? Or no? You're like, it's worse than tackling.
No, not at all.
Okay. Hey, well said. Well said.
Okay, the topic of our first podcast was this, I believe. So you listened to that one?
I did.
Okay,
Hey-o.
yes. Hey, woo. We plan on asking, or we do ask each of our guests what their this, I believe statements are. So could you give us a personal and a professional this, I believe statement for yourself?
What would you like first?
Let's hear the personal.
I like it.
Okay, so the personal is pretty simple. Either you're growing or dying, and I do believe that. And so from a personal standpoint, I'm either growing spiritually or I'm declining. I'm either growing in my relationships with my family or they're dying. And that I'm growing as a human being, as a person, trying to become better, or it's going the other way. There's no, I don't believe that there's anything in between. I don't believe we stay there. we're either getting better or we're getting worse. And so I really try to keep that in mind with everything that's going on in my life personally. So I look at it that way.
Excellent.
Yeah. Great time to wrap up the episode. Right there. No, we have a lot of more fun stuff. Hang on. All right,
Do you want the professional
Yes.
one
We're ready.
as
Do it.
well? Okay, so I'm going to read this to you because this hangs on my wall.
Okay.
And this has hung on my wall since my days in Eudora, Kansas, when I was superintendent there, and I believe this strongly, that if you put yourself out there in a leadership position, includes you guys, includes our Board of Education, right? They voluntarily put themselves in the position to be board members, to be criticized, to be someone that people are going to question once in a while, and do all that stuff too. And so this is something that I look at often, remind myself of as we go through some of the times that maybe aren't the greatest. But this is from Theodore Roosevelt, or Teddy Roosevelt. It was part of a speech in the Citizenship in a Republic in Paris, 1910. And he says, "It's not the critic who counts, nor the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, errs, and comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error or shortcoming, but who knows that the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself for a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat." And Teddy used he and him, and obviously we can put she and her
Right.
Throughout that as well. But that's one thing that I do believe is that if you're going to be a leader, you're going to get criticized.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to make decisions, you're going to be criticized. But if you're doing them for the right reason, it's okay. It's part of what happens with the position and the job, and trying to make things better for kids. So I believe that professionally, and once in a while I remind myself of that.
That was exceptional.
Yeah, very good. I didn't think you could beat the personal answer, but
I know, you did it.
and I'm going to try to hopefully get a little bit of that, because I will say that's one of my shortcomings. I think as far as a leader, I think I do a pretty solid job of, like, people are like, hey, I like what he's up to. I don't mind following that, and I think I explain things well. But sometimes the criticism gets to me. Sharon knows that. Like when I know it's right for kids, and I think I need to do a better job of that. So hopefully,
Yeah.
being around you can help me out a little bit next year.
Well, I think, a lot of times if you get in those situations, you have an opportunity to sit down with people who come from that part. And that's why I love for people to come in and talk to me. You know, if somebody's coming in to complain about something that happened in the playground, of course, we're going to have them go back to their building, and people who know what went on, and make sure they talk. But if there's something that would make its way up, or something somebody wants to talk about on a district level, I love to do that. Because in most cases, you know, once you hear their perspective and understand this is why I'm upset about this, or this is what's going on, it makes sense. And it gives us an opportunity then to kind of look at it through their eyes and try to find common ground once again. So it's that communication piece.
Right.
Okay. Marty, it's apparent that you are a learner, especially with your answer and your personal belief. So one of the biggest things that we talk about in this podcast is being open-minded and continuously learning and having a growth mindset. What are some ways you continue to grow as a learner? These can be books, articles, our podcast, Lion Pridecast, subscribe, whatever it may
Well, I
be.
mean,
That's the number one,
That's the
obviously,
one.
right?
that's
But yeah,
what I have been doing. Yes, absolutely. I've been digging into those. No, I you know, from a book standpoint, one of the ones that I think have influenced me recently is Crucial Conversations. It's a book that I've done, and we've actually done with some groups in our districts as we've gone through that. And there's a follow-up, I think it's called Difficult Conversations, but I haven't really read that one yet. But the piece about not only in your personal but your professional life on how to have those difficult conversations in situations. So it goes back to that same thing, is assume the best, right? Assume the person that you're having a difficult conversation with is there, and being brutally honest with one another, putting things on the table. Don't leave things unsaid or walk out of the room without those. And so that's been a huge piece for me, is for some personal but also professional development through that piece. I try to stay as active as I can in organizations and superintendents' organizations. Also, just with our conference, picking other people's brains on what's worked and not reinventing the wheel is really, really important for me as well, and going forward. I am a do-for person, and so, obviously that kind of has passed, and that torch has passed on to Marzano and some of those research that are out there now. But really learning as much as I possibly can through that. I've read some Schmoker lately in regards to grading and grading from the and then there's others with grading from the inside out. Looking up some of those about how are we grading kids, and with that in mind, as we talk about how are we grading kids, the idea is what is the most fair way to do it, and we want to be able to know what kids know and can do, rather than being a situation where we're grading kids based upon compliance and their behavioral compliance. So when they walk out of our door at Lansing High School, there's some sort of a guarantee that we can give that they know this. And they know this because of, we can say why, because of this. This is how we've assessed what they know. This is what we know they can know. Not just they were a great kid at playing school, because we all know those, and I'm getting way off and chasing a rabbit here. I apologize.
You're good.
But from that standpoint, I think those things are really, really important on how we can communicate that to parents, but also to our community. When kids leave here, this is what they know. And so learning some of those things, I'm really doing some diving into that. And I know this isn't everybody gets a 50%. This isn't nobody fails. This isn't any of that stuff. That's not at all
Take a
what
deep
it
breath,
is.
right? That's not what we're saying.
No, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is, what do kids know? How do we measure it, and how do we communicate that? And if they don't know it, how do we help them to get them to a point where they do meet a minimum level of competency that we've set?
Just really quick, I noticed you mentioned a couple pieces of Rick DeFore, which is great, and that's part of the reason we're, you had brought up the GVC earlier about the first question, what do we want kids to know and be able to do? And even the second question, how do we know they can do it? That's all in the GVC.
Yeah,
the standards,
it
the
is.
I can statements, the vocab, and the assessments. I also noticed you mentioned someone, was it Schmoker? Was that the name? What's his first name? I would like to, it sounds fascinating. We'll connect later on that. Yeah, I think I do. And Mike, if you're listening, send me something. I talk about you more than come on, bro.
Yeah,
send me something. No, I really appreciate it. And the grading thing, I'm fascinated by that. I always get the author mixed up, but I think it's Ken O'Brien. Is that right?
Yep, O'Brien is one.
And he's really big on let's revamp it, let's think about it from an actual conceptual, an understanding thing. So I love even bringing it up and having the conversations, which actually goes into the crucial conversations, because that can be really hard for a teacher to think,
It is.
let me grade a different way than I have the last decade.
It is. If we think about where grading systems came from within schools, it's kind of like parenting in some ways, is we do it the way that it was done to us or for us, right? And so if we're grading, sometimes we're grading based upon how we were graded when we were in school, or how our supervising teacher during our student teaching process graded, and how we learned how to do that. And so I don't know that we think about it very often, or take deep dives into why are we doing it this way. And so I think if nothing else, it's worth that conversation, is to say why are we doing this now, and what's the purpose of grading? Is it to sort and select kids? I hope not. Or is it to be able to communicate what kids know and can do?
Love it. Well,
that was the serious part.
Yes.
Now we have a fun questions for you.
He's like,
He's
whoa.
not
He's
big-
looking for the
He's had all
nearest
the
exit.
questions, Which, by the way, no notes, all of this, nothing. Just, we have some guests on the
Even the Teddy Roosevelt quote. No, he looked at
Yeah,
the Teddy.
you did look
I,
at that.
I had
That
to
is
read
okay.
that.
It's okay.
I could
That's
have
okay.
done
No.
the first few lines.
Excellent
Then I
job.
would have said something.
You did
wrong.
awesome. But now it's time for some fun. You haven't had any of these questions, so you ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
This is how we
Very
usually
easy.
end it with
Yeah.
like some trivia and stuff, but we're going in
Yes.
different directions. So go ahead.
Yes. So our listeners hopefully heard episode number 13 with Bart
Mm-hmm.
Schwartz. He's the executive director of Greenbush. You've known Bart a long time. How
I
many
have.
years? How many years?
Oh gosh.
This is your chance to get them back. Calling you
20?
seasoned or whatever.
Okay.
20.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
More than that. Probably 25.
25, yeah.
Wow, okay. And he had wonderful things to say about you, obviously, because we trust Bart.
Yeah.
So.
He must be senile.
Yeah.
Poor Bart.
Yeah, poor
And he
Bart.
just led us in our strategic plan. Oh, no.
We're in trouble. Well, you probably know how much of a music connoisseur he is.
Yes.
So, your question is, what is your favorite genre of music?
Oh.
And follow up if you'd like to, favorite
Yeah,
band
favorite
or
band,
artist.
kinda wanna hear, yeah.
If
Okay.
you'd like to,
Do
but
you,
at
listen,
least
do
there's
you like music? 'Cause
Yeah,
are
I
you like Bart?
love music.
love music.
Now, of course, I grew up in Nebraska, lived in Wyoming, and do all that stuff. So I say country,
Mm-hmm.
but
Sharon's favorite.
not current radio country.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of the one-off country. So Morgan Wade, Ian Munsick,
Garth Brooks.
right.
Your
That's
face.
That's the one he knows,
No.
probably.
You should see Marty's face. He's like, oh, I go with these like really under the radar, like Garth Brooks, right? That was a joke.
Muscadine Bloodline.
Okay.
Some of those that you would see, my wife and I went to a concert in Des Moines at a place called Woolies, which is like a 500-person place to go, and Morgan Wade was playing there.
Okay.
And kind of almost a Kentucky bluegrassy country
I could dig a little bit
funky
bluegrass.
thing. I'd recommend it if you
Okay.
haven't heard. But Muscadine Bloodline is
When
another really good
we're
one.
done, we're gonna play it.
Some
Yes.
of those too. So, yeah, that's
Okay.
And
my
I'll lie that I
thing.
love it,
Classic,
even if I hate it.
classic, classic rock as well.
Oh, there we go. A little classic rock. I can talk a little more on that one.
Yeah, so some of that.
A lot more on that one. All right, okay.
Okay.
All right, that was a good one. That was a good one. Okay, so you've had a chance to listen to some other ones. Have you had a chance to listen to Jeff Boland's, our president's
I did.
podcast? Okay.
I did.
Okay.
So then you would know that he and I share the same love of a certain movie series. Sharon, would you like to tell everyone?
Rocky.
Yep.
It's Rocky.
Wow, so saddening how you say it. It was so depressing. I'm a little nervous about your answer to this question, Marty, but do you have a favorite Rocky movie? You seem like you're thinking, so that makes me think that.
I did. It's
You've
either
seen the
Rocky,
movies,
It's
correct?
either Rocky 1 or 2.
Okay, I
Okay.
can dig that. Thank
Not
God you didn't say
five?
I'm
five.
going to age myself because I can remember watching Rocky 1 in a movie theater in David City, Nebraska during the county fair, where a buddy of mine went and we watched it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
1976.
It's a long time ago.
I know what you're in Rocky. It's 1976. I'm a big Rocky fan.
But
Okay.
yeah, I do remember it.
Thank you
So
for
I'd
not
say
saying
Rocky
5.
1.
1. 2 is your follow-up one. Let's just have
Just
fun with this.
follow-up.
What's your next one? Relax, Sharon. We're good on time. This is more important than anything. Go. Don't say 5.
4,
Bravo.
Okay.
and then 3.
Oh no, Sharon, your favorite's not until his 4th.
I'll be quiet.
Rocky 3,
Yeah.
the one nobody likes after Rocky 5. It's like everybody's
I'm gonna
bottom
stand by
two. You stand by it, okay. All right, very good,
Yes,
very
we
good,
have
Marty.
a funny backstory with when we met you. Miles was.
You always say this
so-
part right here
well,
because I think it's pretty funny.
Oh,
How
yeah,
I
if you're
said
wondering why
earlier, I
Miles was
wasn't.
nervous about this question. Yeah. Sorry. Before we met you, he heard your name, Marty, and he got very excited. And he said he's got to be a Back to the Future fan. He's got to be a Back to the Future fan.
I was
And
like
so,
psyched.
I don't know if that was literally one of the first questions he asked you was, "Do you like Back to the Future?"
Yeah.
And you
Do you
really
think we
did.
should tell this story? I guess it's already on here. They're too far in, so go ahead. Just to clarify, I am on a 2-year contract before you get any ideas on this. I am on a contract, all right? Continue, Sharon.
So when you hadn't seen it, you lost points with Miles because after you left,
good.
he's like, I don't know about him.
Yeah.
I said it was because of Back to the Future, wasn't it? He's like, yep.
Literally, I asked you the Back to the Future like midway through the conversation. You wooed us for the next 20 minutes. You left, and she was
he
like,
was
"What do you
just
think?" I was like,
disappointed.
"I
He was
don't,
disappointed.
maybe." She was like, "Wait, what? Was it the Back to the Future thing?" I was like, "Yeah."
He had done the math. He was like, he had to be like 16 when it was out.
Yeah, I did the exact
Right
math.
around the
I
same
was
age
like,
as Marty.
yeah, I was like, there's no reason this guy should not have seen the movie. Like, he was in
whole
high school. He
conversation.
was Marty McFly's age, or pretty close, I think, right?
I know. No.
So, have you seen it yet? Wow. Well, we have till July 1st, so you have time. Man, you're killing me. All right.
Do like a drive-in this
I'm
summer.
thinking
Have,
so.
like, a big screen.
I think so.
There we
We could
go.
do it at the football field or something.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's a perfect way to wrap up.
No, the
episode.
perfect way to wrap up the episode is if Marty said he watched Back to the Future. That would have been like, bravo. No, you're fine.
I can't lie.
Oh my gosh.
Do we want to, before we jump into this, explain part 1 and part 2 just real quick?
yes,
Because we hadn't had a chance.
So
You got
this
it?
is going to be a 2-part episode.
Yes.
So we're going to be recording the next part, which is all made up of questions from staff, which we're excited about. So it'll be 2 parts because it'll be way too long to have it as one. So that'll be coming out in just a couple days.
As always, for more updates and stories on Lansing USD469, you can visit us at www.usd469.net.
And if you don't already have it, download the free Lansing USD 469 mobile app on Apple and Android. The app allows you to be the first to know about all the fantastic things happening in the district.
And even though they're not going to be happening anytime soon, snow days. If you like our content and want to stay up to date on the latest episodes, please follow us wherever you are listening and leave a review to help others find us and learn more about our great district.
We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Castbox, Stitcher, and Pocket Cast.
Pocket Cast, you are next as the target because Castbox, I believe you exist, but Pocket Cast, never heard of you. And if you would like to be a guest on the podcast, it was more. I think I might drop that joke.
You
It's
might.
time.
Yeah,
It's
it's
time
a
to
little
drop
more
that
now,
joke. Please send us an email at sharon.burns@usd469.net.
And that is a wrap on number 17. Woo.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks. Oh wait, no.
What?
Marty, thank you very much for being here. I'm sorry, I don't think we had a chance to say that.
Yes, thank you.
Well, I guess
very
we've got
welcome.
part 2, so
Yeah, it
don't
was
move.
My pleasure.
Marty's like, what did I get myself into? Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.